We're joined this morning by Greene County Mayor David Crum for our monthly get-together after this past Monday's Greene County Commission meeting. And, Mayor, it's always good to have you with us.
Thanks, Roy. It's good to be here, Jim.
Well, at the meeting on Monday, obviously the topic that was pretty much dominated the meeting was the EMS budget and restoring that money to the budget. It was an issue that had been carried over from the February meeting, and finally some resolution on that the commissioners voted to give them the money back, the $205,000 that had been cut out. Just talk a little bit about what the process was to get that money back in there.
Well, there was a lot of discussion, and we had Tommy Crowder was there. He has come down on an interim basis for our EMS. He brought some various scenarios that he had looked at that money that was proposed. Ultimately, in the end, it was to reinstate the South Greene first responder. And as he kind of mentioned, first responders are good, especially when you get into, I think, our rural communities that gives someone out a little bit closer than an ambulance could be stationed there. But they don't generate revenue. That's something that, purely the taxpayers going to have to subsidize that because they don't bring revenue in, the first responders. So it added that back, gave him some options on the rest. In our last audit that they came in, they had some things that they recommended that we do. He wanted to look at some electronic time clocks, some other things, and our part-time money was already depleted, as we've been short-staffed there and running part-time people. So it gives him some options to finish out this quarter and prepare a budget for this next year.
Will there be any chance for some of that money to be recovered through the trip, the billing and everything? Because that's a chunk of money that's going to have to come out of the fund balance, which is fairly depleted to begin with.
It is. One of the options that he had was his recommendation was to buy two day-type vans that would be outfitted to be able to move people between hospitals and dialysis appointments and things that would not be our typical big box truck ambulance. That would save, with the 60,000 moving out to the first responder, though, I believe, and a quick conversation he and I had, that he's going to just look at implementing one of those. But yes, that'll be able to generate some revenue because those calls are paying patients, and that's where the revenue can be generated in those type transports.
When we last met, you were in the process of hiring an interim EMS director, and now Tommy Crowder is on board, coming down from Washington County, and he started on March 1st. And just talk about the position that he's kind of found himself into, and how he's responded to that so far.
Tommy's just really seemed to get our staff back on board, especially the line staff. I think appreciates the knowledge that he's bringing to that department. And so it's just sometimes change can be very good, and he's come in and look with a different perspective, and kind of looking at some of those things that maybe we could be doing and improve our service. But yeah, he has been challenged. We've lost a lot of employees to some private services because they pay better. As he says, our pay is the lowest in this area, so we can't draw employees based on pay. There's a shortage of paramedics, and he says there's none out there to be hired, especially at what we pay. And there's not a class that's even going to have any to where he can get based on the scale that we have. Now, there's some EMTs out there that he can get, and some part-time personnel that I believe he'll be able to pick up and put to work in the EMT, but that puts you at a little lower level. They call them, if you have two EMTs, it's a BSL truck, I guess, for basic life support. If you have a paramedic, it's advanced life support, so they can do some things the paramedic can through their training. So he's got some challenges.
And of course, he's got to make sure that calls are being met, and there's going to be staffing as well. With if there's short people, it might be short a truck or two during busy times, and that's another thing he's going to have to wind up juggling as well.
Yeah, he is, and it affects your overtime, because when you're short people, I mean, we looked at overtime budget, and it's a lot, and that's just based on their work schedule is one thing, but the other, if you're short people, then you're working people more overtime, so that's pushing that overtime budget up even more.
Some of the other issues that were addressed during the meeting on Monday, back in the fall, the tax anticipation note was taken out to cover the money until the property taxes started rolling in. And you got some good news on that, and the fact that you had enough money come in that you were able to retire that note a little bit early.
We wanted to get that paid off. The final due date had to be paid off prior to June 30, so we were going to go ahead and take care of that. We've collected approximately 94% of our tax rate has come in, so that's been good, and we had to approve the payment of the interest off that note.
What's the percentage? I know that there's a number that they budget based off of collection. Is it 93%?
I think it's 94. 93, 94. So we've got to that budget projection. So and we typically will get there even higher than that people will come in and get posted late, or we'll just turn in for collection. So typically we get up pretty close to that, but.
I know there have been some talk about trying to be a little bit more aggressive on some of the past collections. Has that been following through at this point that you're aware of?
We've been working on that. Kind of got a little distracted in the last few weeks, I'll just say, Jim. But, been working with our clerk of master, Kay Salmon, and Chuck Jeffers, the assessor of property, to work on getting those things together in our committee to try to get some of those sales out there to get that property back into private hands.
Among the other items that were on the agenda were some road removals from the road list, which happens every month. And one topic that I thought was kind of interesting was about and I never realized that this wasn't something that was official, was about road signs having to be green background and white lettering to be official, but it's been now officially been determined.
It has, and that'll help the road department, especially noticed in the last few weeks as they're out removing snow and stuff. They're not allowed to go on private driveways, and so it keeps them from, maybe if somebody's put a sign up making that turn and getting on somebody's private property to do snow removal, because they may want to take care of it, one, themselves, and the other is the county can't spend taxpayer money on private property.
So basically, if somebody has a property and they have that's not on or a driveway or something that's not on the official county road list, they can put a street sign up there, but it has to be different than green and white, so it can be identified as being a private road.
It does, and that shouldn't affect, in my mind, anything on emergencies being able to get there, because it's going to go by their address, not the official road sign. But it is good to have that out there at your driveway if you've got one of those really long, to kind of give an indication, at least if you're highway numbering things. So,
one of the other things that came up, and Sheriff Pat Hankins discussed this, is that he's trying to get a computer system for the Sheriff's Department to make reporting a little bit easier. And I was amazed to discover, certainly as someone who goes and looks at the reports on a daily basis, I was amazed to discover that Greene County is the only county in the state where they still fill out the reports by hand and turn them in that way, and then type them in later on. And it's a little inefficient at times with trying to have people come in and do things like that on when they could be out working on the road. So Sheriff is trying to come up with a system that is very similar to what the city's using. It
is, and his similar to Johnson City and a lot of those. A lot of people are walking around with smartphones now, and that's exactly how Greenville City's doing theirs on smartphone, is they can go in there, do their report, hit send, and it's gone and downloaded. And the great thing about it is one of them, besides just that efficiency, and I use an example since I came from the city, is we had one of our detectives that was working a case, and it was a minor misdemeanor theft type case, and whenever he developed a suspect and put that person's name in for doing a minor theft, he got a NCIC hit that the person was wanted in Virginia. And because that was an immediate impact, if you're out on the side of the road and you're doing a crash report or something, and you enter that person's name, then it's automatically going to run them with the state and the federal for wanted and assorted other things. It'll cross-reference for a sex offender and some of the other items there that it would automatically cross besides wanted. So it really has, the Sheriff's Department's been behind in that, because as he indicated the other night, you have to actually pick up the phone and call Greene County Sheriff's Department to see who's wanted. And he may want to elaborate a little bit more, but that's a great thing that he's wanting to progress and implement there.
One other item that was brought up in the meeting was recovery court, which used to be known as drug court. It's now called recovery court, and trying to get back some of the money that's invested in as far as drug testing and other items, just imposing just a small fee on some of the participants. That
it is. Recovery court is a great program for the person that really is charged with some of those misdemeanors or crimes that could maybe be dealt with in sessions court. For the person that has that drug issue that wants to actually get clean and recover, it requires an intensive probation. It requires a lot of drug testing. They have to be employed. So it is a great program, and what they were wanting to do was to implement a small fee for the person participating in that program to help recover some of the cost of the drug testing that goes on.
Also, a discussion during the meeting on Monday came from David Weems, the road superintendent, who kind of updated the situation as far as the roads in the county and how badly they were damaged from the snow and ice and everything. And he indicated that there's about $3 million of material repairs that need to be done on the roadways in the county, and that's a pretty large number. But hopefully they'll be able to get some compensation, hopefully from the state.
Yeah, all you have to do is get out and drive, and you can see the potholes and the impact that was on our roads during this last stretch of really bad weather that we had. David Weems actually met with Bill Brown Emergency Management yesterday and some state and federal officials to review that. Whenever I was with them for a short period, they were getting ready to actually go out and drive some roads. Gave us some guidance on information that they want us to go back and kind of look at a historical perspective on prior winters and how the temperatures may have impacted there, and if there's any studies that might be out there on the impact of weather on roads and infrastructure like that. But we've had a tough few weeks. It has really been hard on a lot of people out there, and hopefully we've turned. I think spring's about Friday, and so I think we're all ready for spring to be here.
It was announced since we last talked also that Vicki Kirk, the director of schools, is going to be heading to Nashville to take a position with the State Department of Education. And though you don't have directly working with her, do work with her on a lot of things, and it's going to be a position that the county's going to have to fill. The county schools are going to have to fill. But just talk a little bit about what contributions she's made to help for the county schools.
I've known Dr. Kirk for a number of years. Her family goes back when I was teaching Darden City Schools, and she was a teacher down to middle school. I didn't have any classes, but Dr. Kirk's always been respected in the education community, I think, and some of the areas that she's not been recognized for, and people don't realize how much I think a director of schools does. I mean, we've got 1,200 miles of roads that we have to, I shouldn't say we, that she and her staff are responsible for traveling buses across safely every day with our kids. And that's, she supervises one of the largest public transportation facilities in East Tennessee. Different things that she has to supervise. But Dr. Kirk has been very instrumental, and a lot of people don't know, in education and workforce development, working at the state level and at the local level in order to implement programs at our Greene Center and things that will help get students developed in their pathways to success, so whenever they graduate, that college may not be for every student out there, but through our Greene Center and some of those pathways with welding and different things there, that people can go on and be very successful in industry with some good jobs, manufacturing jobs that we have here. And that's an area that I'm concerned also about, that void that's going to be there in her leadership in the Education Workforce Development Committee.
We're about 2/3 of the way through the fiscal year now as we approach the end of March. And do you have any updated idea of where the county's at as far? We should be about 2/3 of the way through the budget at this point. Have you got any figures as to about where we're at right now with as far as spending is going?
No, Jim. We looked at it a little bit the other day and just kind of hit that we're kind of on track there, I think. But as far as getting specific, I'm kind of afraid to say on exactly where we are. We're kind of there already, starting to look at the next budget, requesting information back from people on what their needs are for this next year. One of them we know we've got to address the roof at the courthouse. That thing's been put off, that you can only put off a leaky roof so far, and it's there.
Anything else that's going on in the county that listeners might be interested in hearing about?
Trying to think of anything right now, Jim, that I've not marked any notes down for anything else. We've talked a little bit about one of the things we want to try to put together, some things to discuss, maybe economic development next month a little bit, some things in there.
Very good. The spring, as you said, is just around the corner here. It's Friday will be the first day of spring, and I think everybody's going to be happy to put their winter coats away. And like I said to you before we began our interview, we got through January and we were looking pretty good there for a while, and then February just kind of blindsided us, and it was a tough month. But the light is just around the corner here. It
is. Of course, we're in East Tennessee. We may still get one of those April snows, but I don't believe we're going to get down into that cold weather. Hopefully it'll pass and pretty quick, and so everyone have a good rest of the week, and I look forward to being back next month.
We'll have you back here again next month to talk about more involving county government. Greene County Mayor David Crum, thanks as always for your time.
Thanks you.